So that's it. So I just, this is, I don't have anything specific to cover. Wanted to see if you guys had anything that you wanted to talk about or bring up. I know, to Mike's point, it is one of the toughest times that we've seen in the industry. And this kind of reminds me of, the best news is the number of loan officers that are still left licensed. That's really good news for all of us. Because you survived. And sometimes this business gets like that. We get into the trap of especially when you first get started, like your business doubles every year, especially when you first start, like go from 20 to 40. It's like, oh, I'm going to go from 40 to 80 now. And it's like, dude, that's hard to do. It's not nothing, right? It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work for your business to do stuff like that. And for the newer guys, it takes a lot of work to launch. It takes consistent effort. I mean, that's the thing that always has made the difference, is the consistent efforts over a period of time. And it's like the pumping of the well. When you first start pumping of the well, there's no water, right? And if you stop pumping, you're starting over, right? So if you have no momentum, that's the thing that kills the businesses so much. But in times like this, what we typically see, and we're hearing a lot of this, I'm talking to several of the loan officers about margin and price and rates and what everybody else is charging out there. And this industry has a tendency to go, over 300,000 LOs 2 years ago. This industry has a tendency, when volume slows down, for people to do what they call the race to the bottom. Like who's gonna cut their prices the most to do as much business as possible. And the thing about our industry is you can't lose money on every loan and make it up and make up for it in volume, because we're not like Walmart, so we can't sell you a jar of pickles for $1 that's like 200 pickles, because we think you're going to buy a shirt that we make $10 on, right? So we have to make money on our loans. That said, some companies have deep pockets and they're willing to lose money. That's no consolation to guys like you, except for the fact that eventually companies just go out of business. And when they do that, it's incredibly disruptive to the loan officer's business. So I do everything that I can to keep it as tight as we can keep it. And there's certainly more to do. I'm going through this process right now, and I'm working on getting as much competitive pricing analysis as I can out there. I'm actually doing a demo with a company this afternoon to see what kind of information they provide, because I don't want to get stuck paying for something else that isn't as thorough as it needs to be. But there are companies out there. I talked to a hedging firm that Sherry has a good relationship with, MCT, and they're the ones that recommended this other company. So I'm going to see what they have available. And so we'll see if I can get any more action on data. That doesn't help you. Me doing all of that work still doesn't help you, because at the end of the day, you're the ones on the phone having a conversation with the customer. I love the strategies that you're talking about. Don't freeze up when the customer says, yeah, I'm talking to several lenders. It's like, great, how's it going? Like, because when you open that up and you don't try to hide from it and avoid it, now you get to have an honest conversation. Because and I saw another cool post this morning that reminds me, like, remember for loan officers, remember the golden rule. Like, you don't want some loan officer snatching a deal out from under you. If the customer's getting a good deal and you think they're getting a good deal, then tell them, you know what, that's a good deal. I know you want me to take a look at it. I wouldn't, like, what is it? Is there something you don't like about the guy? Like, if not returning your phone calls, whatever. I used to let those deals go. And then I felt like karma was in my favor, because it didn't happen to me very often where somebody just snaked a deal. When you get a loan officer at another company that operates in the same business channel as you do, like if some loan officer from Nova, if I found out somebody was working for somebody with Nova, I'd be like, oh yeah, they know what they're doing. What's going on? Tell me show me what they're offering you. Like, I'll tell you if it's a good deal or not. And if it's not, I'll tell you. And because you don't want to go through this again and again and again, do you? And then you don't want to spend your time on that, right? You're looking for the customer that you can have the impact on, right? You don't want to turn it, I feel like, and Mike, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. I feel like if you turn it into a bidding war, it becomes a bidding war. And when you lead with, I can beat anybody's price, I'm like, okay, well, now you're gonna get into that deal, and that's when it just doesn't get any fun. Mike, you got any? And Jacqueline, go ahead, you have your hand raised, and then Mike, you can kick in.
I was just going to say something I like to ask clients when I'm talking to them for the first time, if they're not first time home buyers, but I didn't do any of their previous transactions, is find out Like what, so you've done this before, you've been through the pre-approval process before, like what was your experience? Like what was great about that experience that you liked, that worked really well, that we want to make sure we replicate, or what was there anything that went sideways that we want to make sure to avoid? And a lot of the times, most of the time they'll give you all of the data, and a lot of times there's nothing happened. They just never contacted that person again. But that's a helpful piece of information to know if they felt like the communication was off or anything like that. That way you know where to just step up a little bit. So if they do end up trying to talk to another lender, that you've already kind of surpassed their expectations based on their previous
A
experience.
really good idea. That's great. The other thing I would say about that too, if the customer says like, oh, it was fine, I just don't know. I can't remember who the loan officer was. I haven't heard from him since we closed. Okay, let me tell you what I do that's different. Okay, we're going to know each other for the rest of your life of owning a mortgage, because I'm in this business for life, and my job and my goal is to help you save as much money as possible and create generational wealth through real estate. So just so you know, you're going to be in my database. You're going to hear from me a minimum of once a year, probably more frequently than that. I'm not going to bug you to do another loan. I'm going to just check in and see how things are going and see what you need help with. That's one of the differences. A lot of loan officers are very transactional. I'm about building a relationship with my clients because it's fun for me. How old are your kids? 9 and 10. I want to do their mortgages in 15 years. Okay. So that's who I am as a loan officer for you. So Mike, go ahead.
No, I love that stuff and what Jacqueline was talking about there. She's amazing at asking questions. And what do all those questions do? They provide opportunity for connection. And that's really what we're talking about, whether it's the value that you provide that's greater than the transaction, whether it's the interest in their lives and kind of finding those questions out. That's really what it all comes down to, right? And we've all been talking about that in our coaching sessions and everything else. It's just about connection. The only other thing I wanted to kind of throw out there in this space of, less loan officers, rates are still high, inventory is low. Don't forget that, we got the age-old thing to deal with, and that's flat out bait and switch and people just not giving good information to people. And it's going to happen more and more because everyone becomes more and more desperate for those few worms that are out there, right? And so now you're going to be competing against things that aren't even real, right? And so it's tough. And I think one of the things that I really appreciated about, what I've been hearing today and some of the things that you were just doing a great job of, Jay, and it also ties into what RG was talking about on his podcast, right? It's blue ocean strategy. Where do I go that other people aren't then? What are the type of deals that the realtors have that I don't, that other people just aren't looking for? Or I had a call yesterday with Ed. He's the top producer at Luminate. And what he did he took, I know a lot of you guys don't really like these or don't really know them well, but he's very focused on DSCR. So he took DSCR, he went to realtors and database, but then he took it a step further and he went to a bunch of investment groups all across the country. And he's like, hey, do you guys realize this is what you can do? He did that a couple of months ago, through the winter when nothing was there. He has $31 million in his pipeline right now of DSCR loans, right? So it's like blue ocean strategy. And those are the things that we have to figure out during these times. Because if we get distracted in everything that's there, it's like, oh, shoot, I just lost another deal because my rate wasn't good enough, or because the agent did this. We get all bogged down into the why not instead of the why we can. And eventually these tides turn and all of the headwinds become tailwinds, right? So that's the only thing I would maybe add to conversation, Dave, is I just love what I'm hearing because that's what it is. It's creating different connection, which is different value. And then it's looking like, okay, blue ocean strategy. Where do I go where other people aren't then? Where do I go where nobody's asking for that worm?
Yeah, speaking of which, so we said that we were going to, on Coffee for Closers, we're going to do a product meeting once a month. So next week, I'm going to get one of the wholesale guys. And does anybody have a preference on who I bring in I want to focus on DSCR or non-QM in general? Or do you want to focus on bank statement? Which would you like? Or do you want, I'm a little uncomfortable with the Deep Haven guy because that training that we did, the guy is just like, and I'm going to talk to Bruce, who's our rep, and go like, Bruce, do you got somebody else that can train the guy?
I'm telling you, Dave, you need to ask Lynn to come on because he can talk about change, Deep Haven. He can talk Lynn Woodrum, the dude I keep telling everybody about. He knows more about guidelines and where things fit. And, he can just say, look, because here's what's amazing about Lynn, because he will do.
TNLO?
He runs the TPO channel at Luminate. He's been my business partner for 30 years. And so
Okay.
he has a lot of the same philosophies I have. And we have this thing about there's enough good in the world so that you don't have to have everything here. So if you have Deep Haven come on, they'll talk about Deep Haven. He will come on and he will tell you about everything that you could go anywhere, because to him, it doesn't matter if you do a deal with him or not through him. He'll just like, look, here's what Deep Haven's great at. Here's what Change is great at. Here's where you should go for this. If you have these things, this is where I excel. And it just kind of gives you a
Let's
good
get that guy on
picture.
here next week.
Well,
That would be
yes,
awesome.
I think you should reach out to him. I'll give you his number right now.
Okay. Thank you. I will.
972-369-6545.
972-369.
6545.
I'm old. My numbers don't run like that. So 972-369-6545. Lynn, Lynn.
Lynn, but it's a dude, not a girl. Yeah,
I got you. Okay.
like Lynn Swan.
I got you. All right. Well, let's get him on. And if not him, then I'll try to reach out to the Change guy. Right, Chris? Is that the
Sam
guy that
Ashton.
you?
Yeah, I would say the Change is the guy. He's very
Okay.
responsive and very helpful. They have that awesome, literally no,
They got a no ratio
bank
that's
statement.
solid.
yeah.
It's a no ratio.
And no ratio. You just need to show that you have, I forget, like 12 months reserves or something, and that's it.
Change is solid. That I would definitely go Change over Deep Haven. I just think it's good to get Lynn on because he could talk to you about what Change does and what Deep Haven does and what he does. Just like, so you have a good picture of like a menu of like, if I have this, this is where I go. If you got like a no ratio, Change is the only place that does a decent no
Is
ratio as an
Luminate a
example.
potential investor for us as a TPO investor?
I think we should totally get signed up with them because Lynn has access to like 30 different investment banks straight on Wall Street and everything else. So it's kind of like you get signed up with him and now you've got 30 different play outlets. And like I said, he's really good if you just say like, hey, what is this? And he'll tell you, yeah, take that to Change, take that to Deep Haven, or no, I totally have that. Or there's some crossover that he'll be like, here's one of the things that he does
That'd
a
be a big
lot.
help, dude.
Is he's like, oh, well, yeah, I actually have the same product as Deep Haven. What's your rate quote? And I can probably give you the same broker comp at an eighth lower rate to your customer. Right. So, but he's just a good resource to have for stuff like that.
Right on. I'll reach out.
That'd be
I
awesome.
can say I reached out to Change just the other day to quote for a DSCR, and their rates were much better than I expected to see on it. They were like mid to high 7.
Yeah, what I've heard about the DSCR is that a lot of the reason that a lot of investors are like cool with it is because the spread between that and a full doc Fannie loan is not much at all, and they don't have to do anything. And then especially with the when they hit their limit of Fannie loans, right? So
It's really just a matter of, it's just the same thing that happened back in the early days before the meltdown, right? It's just Wall Street's involved in securitization and it's really good performing asset at a decent spread. That's what they like them. And some of those things, like you take Lone Star on the street, Lone Star is hilarious. They don't even have guidelines. And here's what their philosophy is. There's no such thing as a bad loan, only a bad price. And they'll price just about any type of weird scenario you can come up with. And what do they like? They like high coupons. So yeah, if you got, one of those people totally middle of the fairway type of DSCRs, yeah, you'll do better with Change or JP Morgan or something like that. But you got somebody that's just like out of the ordinary, and you get a higher coupon. Like a deal that they just did was like the guy was using business bank statements, but he had on the business an NOD in the last 12 months. They priced that loan out. I ended up being like, I think 9.5, 9 3/8, but they did the deal. Right. And so I think that's the type of thing that, Lynn is really good to talk to. And I know him just because, again, he's been my partner for 30 years in different things. And he's the type of person that would have no problem just telling you like, yeah, you should totally go to Change. You should go to Deep Haven. Here's where you should go with that deal. And he doesn't care about helping you with things that he doesn't benefit on. If that makes sense. So.
That sounds great. I'll get him. All right. Does everybody agree? That'd be the great. Let's get him on there. Okay, cool. That'll be next Thursday. What else? Anything else? Questions?
I was just gonna follow up on the stuff we were talking about with like the pricing and stuff. I just feel like we forget, but it always happens in January, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think some lenders haven't closed a deal in like 2 or 3 months, or and just people are just giving away deals. I know Ryan's been a little frustrated because he's lost a couple deals recently. Casey sent me one, but these lenders are just, I think, yeah, like people, like Mike said, people are just bait and switching and seeing what they can get, and just nothing. Yeah, and just people are desperate for a deal, so they're just going to give it away so they can just say that they closed the deal. Maybe
And
I'm
One
so
I had,
and
they
what
were
we have
getting
to
they were
and
getting a $17,000 lender credit.
What's that?
The one that I had come to me, the other lender was giving them a $17,000 lender credit on a 735K loan.
It was a broker. She was charging 17,000 in points and giving a $17,000 lender credit. I don't even know how that works. Like, what?
she did
Why
it for
did
free.
why don't you
did
just
it
show
for free.
nothing? I don't get it.
She did it for free. People
Yeah.
do it for free. And it's kind of interesting. Sometimes when we have that situation where this happens in the ebbs and flows of our industry and people are doing free loans or they're doing bait and switches and stuff like that, sometimes you have to actually, like, as part of your, mortgage coach and stuff like that, sometimes you have to put that weird one out there that's like, yeah, here's one at 3 discount points for a super low rate. So that, and it becomes part of your scripting. It's like, you're out there and you're shopping and everything else. Yeah. So here's 3 different options for you. Look at this. Looks super sexy and rate, right? But it's like these are the fine points. These are the things that people don't tell you. And so I want to throw it out there because I don't think it's a good deal for you, but I need to show you this because I don't want you to be swayed by, right? So sometimes we actually have to temporarily, in times like this, change our scripting and what we show people so that we're kind of trying to get back to this apples to apples comparison instead of like, okay, high ethics and everything else. And I'm just showing you 3 options that are really great. And other people are just destroying you because they're, just baking in all these discount points and everything else, right?
That's a good point, Mike. Yeah, whenever I start seeing something like that, like I'll need to change my script or I'll change my mortgage coach presentations. Obviously, I've been showing buy downs and stuff, but you see stuff like that, you're like, shit, I gotta tackle this before it becomes an issue. I can't forget the word, but
Well, look at, let me share something with you. Because I
Oh,
listened to that interview. I went to the better.com website over the weekend and I just plugged in a bunch of information to, like, I was going to apply for a loan. It was pretty slick. I'll be the first to admit it was a very slick process. And I got like a pre-approval letter in about 30 seconds. It says, it's interesting is the pre-approval letter email says pre-approval letter in the subject line, but then you open up the document and it says, you qualify to be pre-approved. I'm like, okay, that's kind of deceptive, but no, that's fine. Look at what they've been sending me since then. And look at how deceptive this is. Because when you first look at it, you're like, shit, 6%. And then you read across the page
Look at
and
that APR.
0.7, Jesus.
6.7
pay?
APR, $15,000 in points. This is like a $400,000 loan. But 6% sounds great.
See, this is what I'm saying. This is what people do. And for our average customer, they're just not educated. They don't know what APR really means. They kind of know, but they don't really know what it means. They don't know points you pay. Is that like all up front? Is that over the life of the loan? And there's a lot of gobbledygook speak that people use to try to explain it away. 6%, 6%. And then they can go brag to their friends, I got 6%. Right. So, some of those things that you could play with the scripting and stuff is like, what is your rate? It's like, what do you want your rate to be? Man, I could put it anywhere you want. It just depends on how much you want to pay. So, and we start to have those conversations, like I put your rate wherever you want your rate to be. The truth of the matter is, and this is truth in the industry, top to bottom, hedging, not hedging, company to company, the raw rates, like you're talking about maximum 1/8 in rate difference that anyone can offer. So it's not the starting point. It's like, how do you get there? And what is the value? And what are you getting for those types of things? Are you going to get, are you going to pay $16,000 points on that $400,000 loan for somebody who's just like, whatever, right? Like you can play with those things and make it your own, but it is one of the things that you got to think about.
3.13 in points. It's a 491.
Yeah.
492,000.
And you gotta pivot on that stuff because that's what people are doing, and it is deceptive, and it's not in the client's best interest. So, and it always frustrates me, right? Because then we have people like this group, and you're like, you're getting penalized for trying to do right by the customer.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum. And it's not, like I said, when we did this in 2017, if you look at our volume as a company, we did 790 loans in 2016, I think, or 2015. We did, I was looking at this the other day. We did 793 loans in 2015, 900 in 2016. Then we dropped down to 792 in 18 and 747 in 19. So think about, the whole industry did that. It wasn't just Zenith. I mean, the whole industry did that. And throughout that time, you guys are the ones on the street, right? You're trying to scrap and get a loan and pay your bills, right? You want to pay your bills. Everybody needs to pay the mortgage. What was that? Thank You for Not Smoking movie. All the guys from the 3 lobbying groups, man, everybody's got to pay the mortgage. So everybody's doing whatever they have to do to pay the mortgage. And so that's what's going on. And you need to be the light for your clients. You need to be the light for all the clients and all the real estate agents to make sure that they understand that this is what this industry does. And they do. And you know, at the end of the day, if you got a loan officer, I don't know what you want to do with a loan officer who's willing to do a loan and not make any money. Let them do it. I mean, like, okay, go ahead. Yeah, you do that loan and make no money, but tell the customer, make sure you hold them accountable to that, because they're trying to change it at the last minute on you. Don't let them. And if they do, you can take them to, you win that lawsuit. So, yeah, it sucks when it gets like this, but that's what was happening in 27 and 2018 and 2019, because the volume just kept going down, and then it just goes back up. So it does go in cycles. We're in a weird one. This is a lot lasting longer than we expected. And, you know, the truth is, yeah, the MBA says what they think the market's going to do and how many houses are going to sell and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's just, to Mike's point, blue ocean strategy. You got to go get your unfair share of opportunities, right?
Yeah,
That's what you
and
have
one
to
of the
do.
things you may want, depending on the customer, the referral source that you may want to do is, you know, the thing that we hate when people do to us, double app it, right? It's like, okay, here's the problem. And I used to use some of this scripting too. Is like, you know what I hate is when somebody does, you know, quotes you this bait and switch thing, because fast forward 3 weeks and you find out that's not the real deal and there's some excuse they make. You don't have time to start over with me. And so you're just stuck. And then I lose out, you lose out, like everybody loses. So you know what? Depending again on who the customer is, if I really want them as a customer, depending on my referral source, like, you know what, let me just work on the loan at the same time, just in case. And if they don't deliver that to you, I'm here, right? I'll be ready for it. And in the meantime, what I do is I kind of would take that deal and put it on a fast track. So I'm over educating, I'm over, you know, and I'm just like, hey, I'm clear to close in like 8 days, right? And there might not even have an underwriting approval, which maybe gives me opportunity. And if nothing else, I always felt that it gave me the opportunity for the long-term thing with a client. Is like, this is why you wanted to be with me all the way along. This is why you want me as your partner and your quarterback for this generational wealth. And it allowed me to kind of compare for the real estate agent referral too. It's like, see, I'm clear to close. They're still, you know, jacking around with this deal. So I know that could be a waste of resources and stuff. It's something you have to consider. But again, these are just all the things that short term, when you have these times, you got to figure out how do you navigate them. Otherwise, you just feel like you're getting in the boxing ring and you're just getting knocked out constantly.
And again, at the end of the day, I don't discount the stress. I don't discount the challenge. I don't discount the sleepless nights. I get them too, right? Like I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, a couple of times this week, where I'm just like, God damn it, this is bullshit. that this is what's going on, and it happens to everybody, and it's not fun, and I get it. Just so you know, you're not alone. I mean, everybody experiences the same thing. I know that I've been doing this for 27 years. I've had many of those nights over those 27 years. There were times when I was, you know, when it got really dark, was like, are we going to keep doing this? Or are we going to go do something else? And, you know, I go back to Mike White's conversation with Lori and I in 2006 or 7. Fairway wanted to throw us out. We weren't making money, and I was a giant pain in the ass and to Fairway. And they were threatening that they were actually talking about kicking me out of the company, and we weren't doing shit for volume. And Mike White we went to frickin' Noodles and Company on Hamden and Broadway there. And we were talking about what our options were. And he goes, is there another job that you can go do right now and make 20 grand a month faster than you can make it here? And I said, no. And he goes, well, I guess you're doing this then. And that's sometimes that's where you find yourself. But listen, guys, I hate the stress that you're going through. I hate when it's hard. I wish I'm doing everything I can to make it not hard. And I'm looking hard at everything. I'm doing some really hard analysis on our margins and our cost structure because it still has to work, right? At the end of the day, there's people whose jobs count on you and count on us. So we got to do what we can do to make it work. And there's some really good people working here that are working their ass off to make this work. We took on a lot when we decided to do this, probably more than I expected. It's definitely been more than I expected. So there's a lot to do still, and we're going to get it done. We got no choice. We're going to keep going. So, so that's it. Which emails are you talking about, Chris?
Just the better.com ones.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Also,
Just like
you bet.
you're pre-approved. Like, actually, you're not. Like, I
Yeah.
just like maybe
It's a
use
really
those
good
for
point.
a
Yeah,
video or
I'll send them
something.
to you. Yeah, you get a video. Hey, so
take
you
your name
qualify
off.
for this, and then if you read the fine print, it's really good. The fine print is going. You actually don't qualify for a fast approval if you fall into one of these categories. You know, it's kind of like that. So it's very freaking. It's just marketing. It's marketing. It's marketing that makes people go like, "This is great." And
I mean, yeah, Rocket and everyone else does the same. I mean, all those big ones do the same thing. So.
well, and Rocket, I've listened to an interview of the CEO from Rocket on Housing Wire podcast, and they're gonna be launching something else new at the Super Bowl this year. You remember when they launched Rocket Mortgage? They're gonna be launching something else this year, so keep an eye out. And Rocket's the company I probably admire the most. The thing about Rocket makes money. Better still hasn't shown a profit, and so
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
losing
know.
$20 million a month, actually.
Yeah. So they're
A month, not a year, a month.
so they're like that. I wouldn't want to go to work at a company that was losing. I don't know what that percentage is, but that's crazy. So,
But I think, you know, really what it comes back to that you're saying there, Howard, that I think I just really love, and it's what we've really started all the way through is like helping people decide, how are you going to pick an originator? How are you going to pick a company? And in the absence of any decisioning, like I get it. It's like, well, whoever's got the lowest cost, whoever's got the lowest rate. But let me show you what can happen if you just are focusing on this. Boom, look at this. This looks really easy, but just kidding. You're really not pre-approved and you're really not going to qualify for that. Oh, look at this, 6%. Man, that looks good. Oh my gosh, look at that. That does not look good. That's what happens. And this is the place that you're in. Without that education, without that quarterback to help you through this process, you're just subject to that, man. You're just like that sailboat on the ocean, subject to whichever way the wind's blowing, and you don't know. That's what my job is, right? And I really love that ability to try to establish value and trust.
Yeah, and like I think I have this on my chart on my board here, but yeah, Dave's like the 16% people will use you, 16% never will, and then you got to just focus on the 68% in the middle.
yeah, that's always been,
Great.
and that has never changed. 16% of the people, no matter what you do, aren't going to use you
because they just want a lower rate. And just I always remember, like I feel like it happens in December and January because that's when the people go out and looking for homes because they think, ooh, it's a good deal because you know no one's home prices are coming down in the winter, and I think people that look during this time of year are kind of shoppers. I mean, let's just be honest. And when rates come down, because they will, and when things, there's a good, healthy, competitive market, that's when we'll shine again. It'll be easier because people won't have time to go shop online for weeks. And like Casey ran into like 10 days before closing, this guy's like wants to switch lenders. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We're closing next week. That's when we can, but when people have time to make decisions and homes are sitting on the market and all that, like it's tough to compete with the online lenders and the people showing stupid low rates. But yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, and just one thing I wanted to add, just to add context for some of you guys, especially that are on the newer side of it. In 2021, there were over 420,000 licensed loan officers. To give you context on that, 93 now. That's nuts. There's a lot more ability to go out and get stuff and get partnerships now.
Right on. Right on. This has been great. This has been a great call, everybody. I appreciate the sharing and the honesty, and You're not alone, so don't feel like that. And, um, you got to power through, like I said, because that was I was at a big inflection point in my life at that moment where it was just like, are we going to keep doing this? Or because, Fairway wants to kick me out. So I don't even know if I want to keep going. Giuseppe was working, I pretty much had me, Lori, and Giuseppe working there. I'm not even sure Jacqueline had started yet. And,
What year was it?
2007.
Yeah, I started November 2007, right before everything crashed.
Could have been before that. So anyway, it was just, and there's been tough times in this business, and there's going to be other tough times. There's other tough times ahead. Like there's never been any, and this is something that was said a long time ago in business. In any given 10-year period, you have 2 amazing years, you have 2 shit years. And maybe we thought 22 and 23 were the shit years. No, maybe 24 and 25 are the shit years. And so, and then their other years are just decent years. And so, part of being successful in business, and I've heard this a lot, part of being successful business is sticking around long enough to be successful and outlasting all the shit that comes your way. Cause a lot of shit will come your way. You guys are all entrepreneurs, whether you realize it or not. You guys are essentially self-employed people who you're willing to work without a net because you don't want to settle for a guaranteed paycheck. Right. And so that requires a level of personal sacrifice that most people don't grasp or understand. And I saw the coolest poster about this. I was telling Ryan about this the other day. It was the coolest poster, and it was just a big white poster and these words across of it. And it said, "The life of an entrepreneur." He goes, "Oh shit, comma, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit," all the way down. And then like about every 4th line was like, "Yay. Oh shit, 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 yay." And sometimes that's the life of the entrepreneur. And, but the wins are so fucking cool. And when you get a customer who's calling you back 10 years later, it's like, "Hey, my son wants to buy a house." And you got customers that still thank you for the advice that you gave them when they went through their divorce and what a difference it made in their lives. So it's just, we sell a cool product and it's really fun to do. But that doesn't discount the fact, I'm not trying to make it all okay that it's hard. It sucks that it's hard. I wish that it wasn't, and I'm doing what I can to make it not hard. So
One of the things that, at the risk of like getting everybody pissed at me, that we can look at in these times when like you're saying, Chris, like the December, Januaries, it always seem to be like that when we have those times. There's a lot of strategies that we've used over the years to basically take less comp, when somebody's trying to do whatever, and kind of do a referral to an internal non basis point originator and like just transfer and take like 50 bips comp or something and throw all of that into rate. Right. And so sometimes you're looking at some of those deals and going, yeah, no one wants to go from whatever they are, 110, 130, 100 down to 50, but sometimes 50 is better than 0 on those things. So it is something that we could look at, just kind of putting into place for when those times happen.
right on. All right, guys. Good call. Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks everybody
Yep,
for
see you guys.
sharing. And if they don't think that you can't reach out, if you have an issue that I want to make it work, it needs to work for everybody. Thanks.